Wyndham Clark had just won $3.6 million. He'd locked in a spot on the President's Cup team. A country club he'd never even asked to join was about to hand him a lifetime membership. And still, walking off that final green, a friend leaned in and told him exactly how the day had looked from the bleachers. Clark repeated it to reporters minutes later, sitting behind the trophy with a grin on his face. Darth Vader, he said, probably had more fun out there than he did. Because for most of that Sunday in St. Louis, the crowd wasn't cheering for him. They were cheering for the guy standing next to him. That guy was Rory McIlroy, the reigning Masters champion, the world number 2, and for a stretch of that final round, the man everyone in the gallery believed was about to steal the tournament. Clark had walked onto Bellerive Country Club with a 5-shot lead. By hole 11, it was gone. He went 15 holes without a single birdie. Then, out of nowhere, he made 3 in a row to close the door, carding an even par 70 and finishing the week at 17 under. To understand how strange that ending really was, you have to go back to how the lead was built in the first place, because the first 3 days explain everything about the fourth. McIlroy arrived in St. Louis coming off one of the worst weeks of his season, a finish near the bottom of the field the week before in Memphis. He flew home, got back in the gym and on the range with his longtime coach, and came out Thursday with a bogey-free round that tied him for the lead. Asked to describe it in one word, he chose unexpected, then added that his father always reminded him one good round proves nothing. Round 2 was quieter, a string of pars broken by just enough birdies to keep him within range, while Clark took over top spot outright. Then came Saturday, and it was Clark's turn to look shaky before looking brilliant. He double bogeyed the very first hole and lost the lead almost instantly. Then he answered with 5 birdies and an eagle in an 8-hole stretch, firing a 5 under 6-5. McIlroy matched him shot for shot with his own 6-5, but it wasn't enough to close the gap. Clark carried a 5-shot cushion into Sunday, the second time all year he'd done exactly that. The first time was at the US Open in June, where he'd led by 6 and survived by 1. Sunday started exactly like Saturday had. Clark bogeyed the opening hole again. Almost immediately, McIlroy rolled in a birdie. 2 shots gone in a matter of minutes, and the entire tone of the afternoon was set. Clark was honest about what was happening inside his own head. He said he didn't feel nervous so much as disconnected, like he was watching himself make careless mistakes he couldn't explain. His targets weren't locked in. His reads felt uncertain. On the 6th hole, he badly misjudged how fast the green would play and sent a routine putt rocketing through the break. By the time he'd bogeyed the 1st, the 8th, and the 10th, he'd gone 15 holes without a single birdie to show for it. While Clark unraveled, 2 other stories were unfolding around him. Gary Woodland surged early with 3 birdies in his first 5 holes, pulling within a shot before dunking a tee shot into the water at the 9th for his first double bogey of the week. And Rory McIlroy kept climbing. Back-to-back birdies at 8 and 9, then a clutch up and down at the 11th for his 3rd birdie in 4 holes, and suddenly, despite starting the day 5 shots back, he was tied for the lead. It was also the last birdie he would make all day. He had chances at 14, 15, and 16, and none of them fell. He later admitted he knew he needed to get his nose in front to really apply pressure, and he just never managed it. The turning point came on the 16th, a brutal 232-yard par 3 that had produced only a handful of birdies all day. McIlroy hit first, a towering iron shot that Clark watched closely. Clark figured if McIlroy could flight it that high, his own cutting shot shape actually suited the hole even better. He struck his 5-iron to 17 feet and drained the putt, his first putt over 10 feet all day, to break the tie. What happened right before that putt is the detail almost nobody talked about afterward. It wasn't entirely clear whose ball was farther from the hole, meaning it wasn't clear whose turn it was to putt first. Clark simply said it was his turn. He explained afterward that McIlroy had been putting first and making it all day, and Clark had been missing behind him, so he wanted the psychological edge of going first for once. He didn't call it gamesmanship, just strategy, and it worked. McIlroy's birdie attempt to stay level slid past the hole. 2 holes later, on the par 5 17th, McIlroy found a fairway bunker trying to lay up, then a greenside bunker on his approach, and made bogey. Clark, watching from a better position, sensed the tournament tilting his way and converted his own birdie from 13 feet. He birdied 18-2 from 17 feet, turning what had been a tie into a three-shot win. There's one more layer worth knowing. The putter in Clark's hands, a heavily customized ping mallet loaded with lead tape and an oversized grip, had actually been ice cold in the final round, over a stroke and a half worse than the field average. But across the whole week, it still ranked top 10 in the field, because the damage was done entirely in the first 3 days. Clark had signed with Ping as a putter-only free agent earlier in the year, the first deal of its kind the company had made in half a century. Patrick Cantlay quietly finished second with 3 straight closing birdies. Woodland fought back from his water ball to tie for fourth, 3 years removed from brain surgery. Scottie Scheffler played through hand, foot, and mouth disease and still finished top 12. As for Clark, it was his 3rd win of the year, his 6th career title, and a move to 3rd in the FedEx Cup standings. He said afterward that he's used to being the underdog in his own victories and has made peace with it. Then he turned to the club that had just made him an honorary member, completely out of nowhere, and told them he'd try to be their best one, even if he only made it back once a year.